Before I get started, I want to quickly apologize to Mr. Remnick. Many of you don't know this, but Mr. Remnick, the editor of The New Yorker, was actually hosed from Press Club the first time he applied. And my father, David Abromowitz, class of '78, was a member of the club at the time, and therefore an accomplice. Mr. Remnick, on his behalf, I am sorry for your having been hosed, and if you would like to fight my dad, I would strongly encourage that. He's right over there. He's the bald guy who's mad at me. Do you remember our Frosh Week when we went with our Z groups to that first lecture in McCarter Theater, and in the course of asking a question, a kid said, "Irregardless"? And everyone laughed and booed, and then he said it again, and everyone kept laughing at and booing him. That kid won a Spirit of Princeton award. He is the Spirit of Princeton. Now, most of us are not the Spirit of Princeton officially, but if you pressed us all together into one great big guy and gave him a free t-shirt, that guy would be very much the Spirit of Princeton. At the very least, that great big guy would have an impressive resume of extracurriculars. His arms would be rowers, his butt would be the band, his head would be Jake Niebel, his neck would be a little stiff, and his quads would be quad. He'd stomp around for a while, causing a ruckus while carefully avoiding contact with freshmen, and then move to Connecticut. Though I'm already falling in love with that great big guy, if you press us all together, you miss out on how unbelievably interesting each of us are as individuals. After all, though there's no I in Princeton, there's a U in Nassau Hall, and there's a cursed skull in the basement of Ivy that makes the floors slippery to satiate its hunger for sorority girls' teeth. But it's hard to talk about us as individuals, and it's hard to think about us that way. You need to do it one of us at a time, and that takes forever. We don't have forever, we only have 4 years. So just to make it all manageable, we can end up defined by our affiliations. It helps us talk about each other because we can say things like, "I made out with the women's rugby team last night, and they were surprisingly gentle." Or, "I saw a bunch of St. A's kids in East Pine kissing Murakami novels and whispering to them." Or, "Bhangra was firing guns into Lake Carnegie again, like they always do." I can't be the only one, by the way, who's sick of living in fear of Bhangra. And after we graduate tomorrow, our affiliations are going to be our main link back to Princeton, as an alumni of a bicker club or one of those other clubs, an a cappella group or Shere Khan, or just as a member of the great class of 2013. Obviously, we're going to cling to our residential colleges, each a truer home and a truer family than the one we left behind, a bastion of friendship, community, and intellectual and moral development, and an utter success. Go, Maddie! And that works well for Princeton. If alumni are staying connected, they can become nostalgic, and nostalgia keeps them coming back and donating. But in the process, all the grit, all the in-between stuff, the weird, messy edges that made my Princeton mine and yours, nostalgia can end up buffing those out. Princeton colored each of us our own shade, subtle and distinct, but mixed together, we somehow form orange and black. That would have been a better metaphor if I had gotten into brown. We express nostalgia in terms of shared experiences. You only ask, "Remember that time?" if there's at least one other person who might. And of course we're going to be nostalgic, not only for this weird Chuck E. Cheese of a university, but for our time together. After all, we shared so many incredible experiences as the great class of 2013. The pre-raid, that thing with Doug Davis, Instagram after the bonfire, and several pub nights, and that's it. But it's the stuff in between that can't quite be captured in brochures or press club blog posts or Facebook albums that made Princeton worth all of the blood, sweat, and tears. Literally blood. Every Class Day speaker makes at least one joke about the toilet paper, and this is mine. But at a school that demands as much coffee consumption as this one, the situation is unconscionable. I've given more hemoglobin to the septic system than the Red Cross. I'm being vague about what constitutes that in-between stuff, but that's the point. I don't know what that in-between stuff is for you because it's yours alone. I know it for myself. Getting up before dawn to ride with the bike co-op from Queens, New York back to Princeton. Yelling bingo at opening exercises. Writing a triangle sketch about a crooked politician and inadvertently driving away Elliot Spitzer's daughter and Mark Sanford's son here on Preview. Getting written up for peeing in the bushes next to a then inactive Cannon Club and paying the borough $274. A whole lot of things I can't or won't remember, and all those stories that don't lend themselves as anecdotes. And of course, our affiliations change the contours of our personal Princeton. My 4 years bear only a passing resemblance to those of only a passing resemblance to those of a member of Expressions, or a Zate, or a varsity athlete, or a vegan, or someone with an actual work ethic. I understand this school very differently because of it. But nostalgia blurs those distinctions, aligns our thinking, makes us all sing Old Nassau and beat our breasts and frighten nice Jewish boys like me. But remember, every one of us was accepted into Princeton as an individual for the qualities that distinguish us as individuals. So strive to consider and articulate your Princeton experience in your own words and your own terms. And don't ever surrender yourself to being amalgamated into the great big guy, metaphorically or literally. You've met incredible people, and there are probably as many or more that you never got the chance to. Learning about their individual Princeton experience will help you understand your own, and vice versa. Their individual contributions to this campus enrich your experience of it, and vice versa. You don't need to have won the title. The spirit of Princeton lives in each of us, irregardless. Thank you.